I'm Jennifer Mirsky, Mirsky Digital. Everyone has a story, let me tell yours. So today we're going to talk about digital storytelling and why it's really crucial to be yourself. But first, a confession. I'm human. And guess what? So are you. So this may sound obvious, but we can't forget our humanity. In our quest to be professional, we have to remember that it's our humanity that has to be front and center, because that is what defines us and that is what connects us. And that is where I come in, because I help you connect with your audience. And I do it whether you're an author, an entrepreneur, a nonprofit, a global brand, it doesn't matter. You still want to connect with your audience. How do we do this? There are a couple of ways. The first thing we want to do, you always want to make a great first impression. So we do that on your website. But then we want to continue the conversation, and that's where social media comes in. So to give you some examples, I work with a team of filmmakers on a series called Conversation Doc. And basically these are 5-minute short films about race in America. In this case, I'm not telling my client's story, I'm telling the stories of the people my clients feature in their films. So basically these are really deeply personal stories. They're filmed very simply, just someone facing the camera, speaking to the camera, giving their real story of racism in the United States. And, but then the question is, what do we do? How do we continue the conversation after the credits roll? And these are just 5-minute films, so we don't have a chance to feature that many voices. So what we do is, these films are actually presented on NewYorkTimes.com. People can go, they can watch the films, they can share them, they can comment. People can now submit their own stories, so it can be a text story, it can be a video story, and this is a way to feature more voices, but we're also doing a lot of connecting online. And so offline, we're already connecting with people who care about these issues, so this can be organizations, but what's really cool about online is the serendipity of just by simply watching a hashtag, Confederate flag on Twitter, # Confederate flag, # Black Lives Matter. Suddenly we're reaching these people who we never would have met them otherwise, but they care about the same issues that we do, and so we're joining a conversation. So that is, and speaking of a hashtag, I'm continuously amazed when I go out in the world and I'll go to big events, and it's just a missed opportunity. There is not a screen in the room with a hashtag. And this is what I would call a no-brainer, because if you are at an event, let's say it's cancer research, and you simply put on the screen #cancer research, what that does is it lets everyone in the room join a conversation in real time. So it doesn't matter what table you're sitting at, it doesn't matter if you're across the room from the best person you should be speaking to. If you are using that hashtag, you are in the same conversation. And that's one of the cooler things about social media. And this actually happened to me at the Aspen Ideas Festival. We were there for Conversation Doc, and we showed these films, and the filmmakers were on a panel with Ta-Nehisi Coates talking about implicit bias, and then I was at another panel about criminal justice. And simply by sitting in the audience, following the people who were on the panel, using the Aspen Ideas hashtag, suddenly, the panelist follows me back. Suddenly we're connected, I'm sending him a link to the film, and we've just made this connection, and chances are I would never have made that connection with hundreds of people in the room. So another example is Benji Molina. So Benji Molina, for anyone here who doesn't know, and I know even the young people in this room know who he is, he's a former Major League Baseball star, and he's a world champion, and he is a 2-time Gold Glove winner. And he's also a best-selling and award-winning book author. Benji has an incredible life story, and he's written this in a Simon & Schuster book. It's called MOLINA, the story of the father who raised an unlikely baseball dynasty. But the question is, how do we keep telling that story online, and how do we tell it more than once? Benji is a natural for social media, and I say this because he's warm and he's genuine, he's authentic, he's the real deal, and he's very responsive and he's very hardworking. And so yes, we did some work to optimize him, to make sure that he had been verified on Twitter with the little blue check mark. So people would know it's the real Benji Molina and not an imposter or a fan. We made a basic website for him and linked to his social media, and then linked from his social media to his website. And we did a major outreach effort because Benji is a great guy and everybody loves Benji. And so we reached out to all these baseball players, some of whom have huge followings. And we didn't beg, but we did say, hey, I've got this new book coming out and I hope you'll follow me back. And Benji's bilingual, of course, he's Puerto Rican. He asked in English, he asked in Spanish. People were following us back. We outreached to baseball players, to fans, to so many different kinds, fellow Puerto Ricans, the Baseball Hall of Fame, you name it. We just thought about who's going to want to talk to Benji. But the other thing that was amazing was that Twitter is a real-time medium. And so Benji really got in there. Not only was he on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, every day, and not only did he have 6 events a day for 6 weeks, and we grew his Twitter following tenfold in those 6 weeks, but he was constantly throwing out the first pitch at a Major League Baseball game, catching it, sending photos, sending videos, posting it. When a game is on, he's on Twitter, he's saying, there goes my brother Yadier, check him out. Isn't that a great play up the middle? He worked at it. He did exactly what he did off the field on social media. So you might be asking, do you need to be a star, to be a social media star? And the answer is no. There's an interesting man, I don't know if you're aware of him, his name is DeRay McKesson, and he's one of the activists in Black Lives Matter movement, and he has amassed an enormous Twitter following. He's on national TV all the time, he's pretty much at every protest around the country, and he's allegedly, according to Stephen Colbert, one of the 10 people that Beyonce follows back on Twitter. And now he's running for the mayor of Baltimore. So as entrepreneurs, we need to ask ourselves, what's your story? And some of you maybe think you don't have a story, or you think you have a story, but it's not that interesting, but I can work with you and help you figure out what's your story, how are you going to tell it? When you get to your website, I don't want to get there and sort of say, is anyone home? Like I want to feel that there are human beings there. I want to see your photo. I want to hear your story. I want to understand what makes you tick, what's your process. And I also want to see your clients' stories, because in telling your clients' stories, you're actually telling your story, because you're explaining what it is that you do and how you help your clients. So a great story, is something that taps into our emotions, is surprising, inspiring. On my own personal level, I had a wonderful dog and he passed away. I made a short film about him, and I got past my vanity and included a shot in the film of a very unattractive shot of me with my tears running down my face. And I almost didn't include it in the film, but I decided to because it was critical to the telling of the story. And my best friend from first grade called me and she said, I don't even like dogs, and I just want you to know I'm standing on a corner, I'm watching this film, I'm crying, so it worked. So in conclusion, Maya Angelou has a wonderful quote, which is, I have learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Jennifer Mirsky, Mirsky Digital. Everyone has a story.